Welcome to This Week in Northwest Georgia Football, brought to you by Riverside Auto Group and produced by WLAQ Sports. Each week, we bring you insight, analysis, interviews, and our predictions for the week's matchups around the Northwest Georgia area. Here are your hosts.
Yes, we are here and glad to be with you on this episode of This Week in Northwest Georgia Football. And it's probably a good thing that we had a pre-show planning meeting because I realized an error that I had made in calculating the scores from last week. So for what is on the video feed right now, I'm going to go back and adjust that. I didn't have time to do that in the description. But Ian and I both went 5-2 last week. So I have a 4-game lead. For some reason, I didn't mark one of the differences we had. And so we were even in terms of the picks last week. So I've got a 4-game lead going into this week's pick instead of the 5 that I was hoping for. But it is what it is.
Well, you know, I sat here at this table with you last week, and I said it before I picked against them. I was like, I don't know why I pick against Cartersville. Every time I pick against Cartersville, they win. And sure enough, they went on the road and took care of business against a really good Cass team, which just, again, speaks to just how good the Purple Hurricanes are.
I agree with you 100% on that. And I have talked to so many different people that had the same assessment that we had last week. If you didn't have another game that you were paying attention to last week, you either wanted to go to that one or GPB provided a live stream, and I dialed it up, and I did not watch as much of it as I anticipated I was going to because it did not turn out to be the kind of game that most people expected it would be.
Yeah, I was expecting it to be a barn burner. You know, Rockmart kept it competitive for a half with them. Calhoun pushed them to the brink, and I put Cass somewhere in between those two teams. I really thought they had a chance to win. I wouldn't have picked it otherwise, but Cartersville proved they are who we thought they were. They are they're the program they've been now for a decade plus, and that's a team that's going to compete for state championships every year.
Oh, there's no question about that. And of course, another game we were talking about just moments ago that really sticks out from last week was Pepperell's victory over Bremen. Yeah. You and I both picked Bremen in that game, and for good reason.
True.
But, you know, Pepperell, they've taken another step. There's no question about that. They're playing with a level of confidence we've not seen from the Dragons in quite some time.
Yeah, that was a show-me game for Pepperell. Both of us felt like Pepperell had a shot, and we were going on based what we knew about Bremen from their performance this year and what we've heard from people who have laid eyes on the Blue Devils. And the game was at Bremen. I thought that was good for a touchdown, but it's obvious that the Dragons are playing with some swag now. They're feeling it. They're going out there and believing they can win and executing. And we got to see that roster against Darlington a few weeks ago. They've got the dudes. They've got the depth. And now they're finding their stride.
It's going to really be interesting to watch this team the rest of the year and see what they can accomplish, and even into the postseason. They're an exciting team to watch, and again, they've hit a different gear. So let's see if they'll be able to keep that going. I certainly think that they can.
Well, I mean, and they've firmly put themselves into the race for region champ now. They've got a few games to go here to close it out, one against a cross-county rival, and then you got to watch out for Harrison County because they're the kind of team that can drag you down in the mud and run the ball and control the clock. So I'm not saying that's a gimme, but then don't get caught looking ahead to the Braves because Heard County it's Heard County and Pepperell right now. That's just the truth.
Oh, there's no question about that. And we're going to talk about all those teams in a little bit more detail a little bit later here in the program because we're picking games that involve just about everybody this week, and we'll run down the list before we wrap up this first segment. But obviously, Rome picked up another victory last week. They've got that machine rolling pretty strong, and I think it's going to stay that way, through region play more than likely. I don't see, too many areas there where there's potential upset personally. But.
It's almost identical to last year. I think a lot of people are thinking, I guess Manchester's the one that might be a game. I really think Rome's just going to roll through the rest of region play. And those losses at the beginning of the season will just be a blip on the radar like they were last year.
Oh, absolutely. So anything else from last week that stood out to you? Of course, one game I know we'll talk about in a little bit more detail was, of course, Model hosting Haralson County. They had, I think, a 17-7 lead in that game going into the fourth quarter. Haralson County came back, scored 24 unanswered points in that game. But I think that showed a little bit of something from Model in terms of their toughness and ability to match up at the line of scrimmage that maybe we hadn't seen so far this season. So I know they didn't like the end result of the game, but the first three quarters were fantastic from what I hear from the Blue Devils.
You hate to let one slip away, but we were just talking about how tough Haralson County is. So to me, that says a lot about how Model is developing as the season goes on.
Absolutely. Well, let's go ahead and run down our list of games that we're going to be picking and talking about in detail this week. We're going to start with Harvester Christian Academy, the Hawks, going to Unity to play the Lions. And when I say going to Unity, they play their home games out on Branch Bragg Field at Coosa High School because of an agreement they have, which has worked out very well for them. We're going to talk about, but not pick because we're calling it, but you were talking about the Heard County Braves earlier. Being, the team to watch in terms of Region 6A D1, and then Pepperell also being potentially a contender there. But the Darlington Tigers are hitting the road to Franklin, Georgia for their last long road trip of the season this coming Friday, and they're going to take on the Heard County Braves and try to spoil that undefeated record for the Braves. And, I mean, obviously one of the games that stands out there for Heard County is they picked up a victory over the three-peat state champion Bowden Red Devils earlier in the year. It was a 1-point game, but that's the one that really jumps off the page.
Yeah, and when you look at their results, this defense does not give up a lot of points. The Braves are very stingy. So, and a tough home environment. We've been there before. Really nice facilities down there, and a fan base that's going to come out and make some noise.
No doubt about that. And then you've got the Model Blue Devils going to Lindale. Jeff Honeycutt, head coach of the Model Blue Devils, going to coach against his former team. And I do want to point this out. I saw earlier this week the inductees for this year's Rome Floyd Sports Hall of Fame, and one of them is Jeff Honeycutt, who was just an outstanding athlete in high school, played multiple sports, and also has done a great job as a coach over at Model, but definitely a well-deserved honor. And so congratulations go out to of course, Jeff Honeycutt. Dakari Saxton's getting the honor this year, and also the other people. I don't have the list in front of me. I like to recognize them all, but since this is a high school football show, certainly wanted to mention Jeff Honeycutt.
Yeah, congrats on the nod. And, Model gets to go back to his alma mater as a coach. This is not a new thing for him. He's been down this road a few times, but, he'd love to play spoiler on the Dragons.
Absolutely. And then you've got the Rockmart Yellow Jackets looking to keep that streak going, and we got some details about that. I was doing a little digging today on that, but Rockmart is going to North Cobb Christian to face a really good Eagles team, so that'll be fun to talk about.
Yeah, we've seen them, and that's going to be a tough road environment for Rockmart. So, the thing that makes the streak even more impressive is it's not like they've played a bunch of easy teams. They've played some good competition, and for 65 straight now, or 64?
I think it's 64. I'll have to look at my notes in just a couple of moments. It's not quite as many as I thought.
What
but
a run.
It's pretty darn good.
Yeah, what a run.
Then you've got the Dalton Catamounts, who have kind of struggled, but they've faced some really tough competition throughout the season. More on that later. They're going to Cedartown to take on the Bulldogs. That should be a great matchup.
I think so. I think you just mentioned the competition that Dalton's played. I think these two teams mirror each other in a lot of ways. I think they're young, building their programs up. They've played some stiff competition. It's going to be a good matchup.
Definitely. And then you've got the Calhoun Yellow Jackets going to Northwest Whitfield to take on the Bruins. And then Rome going to Lithia Springs to take on the Lions. Off this week are Murchie and Coosa. They played each other last week, right?
Yes, they did.
And Coosa won that game with a shutout victory. So congratulations to Coach Cannon and his team on picking up that cross-county rival victory last week. That had to be super exciting for that fan base.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. Good win for the Eagles.
All right, here's a look at our coverage for this week. Obviously, right now it's This Week in Northwest Georgia Football. Coming up a little bit later on this evening on Wednesday, we've got the Coach Grove Show right here live on our YouTube channel and our Facebook live feed. On Friday, This Week in Northwest Georgia Football radio edition at 6:15. This is all on the radio. 6:45, Coach Grove Show radio edition. 7:15, the Tiger Kickoff Show. We're in Franklin, Georgia, home of the Heard County Braves, as the Tigers are down there for their last long road trip of the season. They do have one more road trip, but it's out to Woodard Tuggle Stadium next Friday to take on Model. So not quite as far on that one as the rest of them have been throughout the year. And then at 7:30, Toe Meets Leather between the Darlington Tigers and Heard County Braves. And you can hear it here on WLAQ, or you'll probably be watching the live stream. So a lot of things will be going on. A lot of coverage there of that game. Well, that is going to put a wrap on our first segment. Got a great slate of games to talk about coming up, and we're glad you're with us. We're going to do some picking and some grinning and just having some fun. And we'll return after these messages.
Are you shopping for a new car, truck, or SUV? Riverside Auto Group has a location to meet your needs. Browse their selection online at riversideautogroup.com or visit with them in person at Riverside Chevrolet GMC in Rome, Riverside Toyota in Rome, Riverside Nissan in Rome, or Riverside GMC Cadillac in Cartersville. Locally owned and operated by the Welburn family since 1974. That's Riverside Auto Group.
All right, and welcome back, ladies and gents, to This Week in Northwest Georgia Football. It's picking time. Let's hop in here.
Well, let me tell you, man, I'm loving the enthusiasm there. I mean, you're fired up and ready to go, and so am I. So let's do the thing. The first game that we're going to pick is in the Georgia Association of Private and Parochial Schools, and it's going to be the Harvester Christian Academy Hawks at 5-2, 2-1, really good record this year, facing the unblemished Unity Lions at 7-0, 3-0. And Ian, tell us how great this Unity team has been on defense this year.
Are you and I just full of rat poison, inflating the ego of this Unity team every week? Well, quit playing so good, and maybe we won't give you all this fluff. But it's earned. It's earned. And look, this week they get Harvester Christian Academy coming to town. They're going to be in Branch Bragg Field, which is got to start. I mean, I know it has to feel like home. This is the second season that they've played every home game out there. And the Hawks can score points, but they give up a lot of points as well. That's a problem when you're facing this Unity defense, because they've proven all season that they're going to shut you down. They average giving up 3.4 points per game.
I just can't believe that.
That's it. Sorry, Hawks. Fly home. Lions win.
I'm with you. I'm not going to pick against Unity for the rest of the year. Yeah. I'll just go ahead and say it right now. Shut out 3 opponents. Most points they've allowed in a game stands at 8. They've played 7 games. They have outscored their opponents 331-24 during that span. Total domination from Unity. They have had a couple of games where it took a little bit of time to get their offense going, but it didn't matter because they haven't given up any points.
I don't think they've scored 70 this year, so there you go, Coach. There you Score go. 70. Come on, guys. You can do better.
The Hawks, they've experienced some success this season, but there's a couple of head-scratching losses in there for them. The one that stood out was the 44-0 blowout to Lafayette Christian a couple of weeks ago. Unity's been the picture of consistency, and like you said, we don't want to throw any rat poison out there. But you got to call it like you see it. And that's what it's been for Unity until something else happens.
A dominant season so far. I think it's going to continue.
No question. Yeah. Well, a little bit of discussion here about this next game. We're not going to pick it because we're going to be there live calling it for you on the live stream and then also the radio broadcast. But the Darlington Tigers, they are 2-4 on the season, 0-2 in region play. They would love nothing more than to go down to the number 4 team in the state in Class Single A Division I at 6-0 and 2-0, a team that we mentioned earlier defeated the 3-peat state champion Bowden Red Devils early in the season and have played excellent defense, as you pointed out, Ian. They've also scored a lot of points against some opponents as well. This is a super well-rounded team. They beat Temple last week, shut them down 35-0. This is going to be a tall test. There's no doubt about that. But again, Darlington has an opportunity to go down and play spoiler.
Yeah, they do. And you're talking about Darlington's opponent, the Hurd County Braves. Coming off of a shutout win over Temple. Their defense only gives up 8.8 points per game. Most of those came against Bowden in that close victory earlier this season. I think that was a 29-28 win, something like that. So they're very, very stingy on defense. They're undefeated, battle-tested, so it's going to require Darlington's best effort. But here's what I feel like the Tigers have going for them. One, coming off a bye week, you can get it healthy. You can add a couple of wrinkles. You can shore up the fundamentals, the issues that you've been having ball security working on, all the little things, tightening things up, and you go on the road, and you're Hurd's going to expect to win this game. But that triple option, if it's clicking, if they can get it going, it's the recipe for an upset. So you see it time and time again, and Herd did not have a bye last week, so they've had a week to get ready for this offense. So if Darlington can go down and execute and hold on to the football and grind it out and control that clock, they could have a chance to spring the upset.
That's exactly the recipe that I had written down here, for Darlington, staying ahead of the chains, extending drives, keeping the Braves offense off the field as much as possible. Herd, they've got an experienced quarterback. Ethan Tisdale is a name that people are going to remember. He can throw the ball. He's got some guys around him that are some good weapons, those sorts of things.
Yeah.
You want to keep those guys off the field as much as you can, and the way that you'll be able to do that, obviously, is by having these long extended drives. And so if they can get the B-back dive working early, get it to their playmakers, which they have a lot of, talking about Darlington, it's going to be an interesting night, and
Right.
we'll just have to see what happens. But again, ball security also, that's always going to be a huge key in every game. For sure. And that turnover battle.
Tisdale's a handful. We've seen him a few times. He's an experienced quarterback and not easy to get to the ground. Good decision maker. So how they defend him is going to be key.
This one's always one that's a fun storyline here. The Model Blue Devils are going down to Lindale to take on the Dragons. Series history-wise, Pepperell leads at 38-21 and 3 ties. The Dragons won the game last year in a close one, 7-6. So give us a few thoughts on this one, man.
Yeah, I mean, like we said in the first segment, I mean, Jeff Honeycutt would love to go in Lindale and play spoiler right here and get a win. And Model would still be competing for one of those playoff spots if they could find a way to win this one and get a couple of wins down the stretch. They forced a really good Haralson County team to come from behind and win that game last week. So they know the recipe. It's very similar to what Darlington needs to do at Herd County. If they're going to go to Lindale and steal a victory, they've got to keep that Dragons offense off the field. Easier said than done, though, because the Dragons defense is really good up front. They don't give up a lot of explosive plays. And on the other side of the ball, they can create explosive plays, or they can just sit there and pound the rock with their running backs and that big offensive line. So at the end of the day, I think Pepperell is going to prove to be too much. I like the way that they've adjusted at halftime against Darlington, made some changes, and really leaned on that running attack because it was working. But they do have the ability to make plays in the passing game too. So I like the Dragons to get the W.
I'm going to agree with you on this one. I thought we saw something different from Model last week, as we talked about, as physical as they must have been against this Haralson County team, because you got to be if you're going to have a lead on them through 3/4 of the football game. So that can certainly be helpful here against the Dragons. But the thing that just really stands out about this team to me is when you run down their veteran list of playmakers, guys like Sam Ross, Maddox Garcia, their starting quarterback, Moss Tant, who does a great job distributing the ball. He can run the ball as well as we've seen. And then you throw in freshman guys like Trey Chapman and the newcomer, Quintavious Rogers, and how fast those guys are. Young playmakers on this team. They just have so many weapons that they absolutely have to give defensive coordinators absolute headaches trying to prepare. It's like, because where do you focus on these guys? They got so many guys everywhere.
Yeah, and really they can simplify their offense if they're moving the ball on the ground. You're toast. It's I mean, we watched them average 8 yards a carry on the quarterback push play against Darlington. They can move you up front and simplify their offense, and then that limits the opportunities for mistakes and turnovers. So Pepperell's very diverse, and I really like what I've seen from this Dragons team. And again, right now, they're playing with some swag, too.
They got a different level of confidence. They've hit a different gear. There's no doubt about it. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can keep that going and what that looks like once they get to the end of the year. And I'm not looking at the schedules right now, but I think Pepperell and Herd County, did they play each other last week of the season?
I think so. I think so. Yeah, they've still got Haralson to play, too.
Yeah. But it could come down to that last week.
I think it is coming down to that last week, barring a trip and fall by one of those teams. And I really don't see that. Tipping my cap a little bit, but I don't see that happening.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out. Well, here's another one that we're going to pick, and then we'll take our next break. We still have a few more after that. But it's going to be the Rockmart Yellow Jackets going to North Cobb Christian to take on a very good Eagles team. This was an interesting one last year. Yellow Jackets lead the series 2-0. They won it by 3 points last year, 24-21. We were talking about the streak earlier. It's at 63 after they defeated Sonoraville ahead of the bye week. The streak is now number 5 on the all-time list and in the state of Georgia. And the number 1, do you care to take a guess to who it is?
I mean, Calhoun had a heck of a run there for a while.
Bing, 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 bing.
Yeah.
It was Calhoun. Calhoun won 119 consecutive region games before losing to North Murray.
Yeah, North Murray, which you almost
I
called.
almost did. We were
Gotta
on this
give you your
show.
credit. Yeah.
I don't get any credit because I didn't have
Yeah.
the guts to do it. But I did say on the show that day, I think North Murray may have the number this year.
Yeah.
But not enough to pick it. And then I kicked myself because that is exactly what happened.
Yeah.
That would have been a pretty epic pick.
It would have.
If you're somebody that cares about
It's
that
an
sort of
epic
thing.
almost pick.
I know.
I got to give you some credit there.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. But anyway, that streak still stands at number 1. But here's another trivia question for you. And I think you'll know the answer to this because we've talked about this a lot over the years. But when that streak for Calhoun started of 119 consecutive region wins, who was the team to beat them before that streak started?
It was the Darlington Tigers.
The Darlington Tigers. They beat them 14-7 in season 2001, and then they went on that streak that lasted to 2019.
That's insane.
But
Impressive.
we're talking about the Rockmart
We
Yellow
are.
Jackets and the North Cobb Christian Eagles. What do you think, man?
Look, North Cobb, solid squad. We got to see them earlier this season, and if there's one name you will remember after you watch this Eagles team play, it's Cooper Bazarski. And you're going to get a healthy dose of Bazarski when you play North Cobb Christian. So, Rockmart, get ready. Number 2 is going to get the rock, and he's going to get his yards, and he's probably going to get a couple of touchdowns as well. I think this game is going to be close, but Rockmart just understands what it takes to close out games, and I think they're the better team. Could be close, maybe not. But Rockmart wins, and Bazarski gets 150 yards and a couple of touchdowns no matter what.
Yeah, he's going to get his yards. There's no doubt about that. But at the end of the day, I just think this Rockmart team is too battle-tested, too well-rounded, too well-coached. They're not going to take North Cobb Christian for granted. I mean, they beat them by 3 points last year. Yeah. So this is not one of those games that's going to sneak up on them. They'll be ready. And I think Rockmart's going to win by a couple of scores, personally. So anyway, we agree on that one. So we have not had
no
a differences
yet,
but that
thus
could
far.
change.
Yes,
that could change.
Certainly
We got some tough ones still on the docket. All right. Well, we're going to catch our breath, maybe grab a sip of water. Y'all hang out. We'll be back and pick some more games after these messages. This is This Week in Northwest Georgia Football. And what is this, week 9?
Week 9.
Week 9 of the show. We'll be back for the final segment after this.
Are you shopping for a new car, truck, or SUV? Riverside Auto Group has a location to meet your needs. Browse their selection online at riversideautogroup.com or visit with them in person at Riverside Chevrolet GMC in Rome, Riverside Toyota in Rome, Riverside Nissan in Rome, or Riverside GMC Cadillac in Cartersville. Locally owned and operated by the Welburn family since 1974. That's Riverside Auto Group.
Well, I was just looking down at our list of attendees on the show today, and we got a comment there from Kelly Fountain, who chimed in with his John J. Rambo. He's locked and loaded and ready to watch the Coach Grove show, which is coming up directly after this, and getting our picks. So we welcome you to the show, Kelly. And then also I see Clay Graham, the voice of the Pepperell Dragons, is on with us today, and then my buddy Greg is on here. And so we appreciate y'all and everybody else that is watching and listening to the show. We appreciate you.
Clay's got to be enjoying this season. You know, Pepperell's been right there on the cusp here for the last few years, but I think they've turned a corner. So, Clay, it's going to be a fun ride the rest of the way, buddy.
I'm certainly happy for him and enjoying watching the progression of the team this season for sure. Well, let's see. Let's jump back in, man. Let's talk about the Dalton Catamounts at 1-6, 1-2 in region play, going down to Cedartown to take on the Bulldogs. They are 2-5, 0-3 in region play. Series history-wise, Cedartown leads it 19-17 and 4 ties. The Dogs have won the last 6. And again, when we started the show, we talked about this matchup. Dalton lost 5 in a row to start the season. Their first 5 opponents, a combined 33-1. 33-1. Yeah. So they played some really tough competition. I think that factors into this game, but I'm really curious to see. You got to pick this one first.
Well, I noticed the exact same thing when lifting up the hood, and they were competitive in a lot of those games. I mean, they played those teams tough. So that 1-6 record is very deceiving. But these are 2 proud programs. That series history, they know each other well. It's been a tight series, 19 wins for Cedartown, 17 for Dalton, and 4 ties. I mean, that's about as close as it gets. I do feel like both these teams are building towards getting back to the reputation that they have and competing for championships again in the near future. This game is at Cedartown. That's always good for 7 points, in my opinion. That's a tough environment to go play in. But something tells me the Catamounts are just a little bit further along than the Bulldogs right now, and I think they find a way to sneak out of there with a win. Close game, though. That's what I expect.
I agree with you. I won't build any suspense there. I picked Dalton to win this game, and the reason I did is because, their defense has given up a lot of points. They really are. But, man, they've scored a lot of points and against some good teams this year. So I think that this could be one of those games that kind of gets into maybe a shootout kind of scenario. I'm not sure. I don't think it's going to be a low-scoring game for some reason. And I think in that instance that's going to favor Dalton because they must have some firepower on offense with some of the numbers they put up in games. So that's the reason why I'm going with Dalton. But Cedartown does have a bit better numbers on the defensive side of the ball. Yeah. And if this becomes sort of a defensive struggle type of game,
that definitely plays to their advantage.
Cedartown, I think. So I don't know. I'm really curious to see what sort of game we get out of this. But I'm going to go with Dalton. I don't feel super confident about that.
Me either.
But that's what I've circled, so that's what I'll roll with. All right, moving on to the next one. This one is in 7-3A. We've talked a lot about the Calhoun Yellow Jackets in their past, but they're still pretty darn good. They're the number 3 team in the state in AAA at 4-2, 2-0. They're facing a very good Northwest Whitfield Bruins team. It's got a lot of experience. They're 6-1, 3-0 in region play. The Bruins lead the series 4-3. Calhoun won last year 55-21. It was the first meeting of these programs since 1985, so I'll throw that in there. It kind of surprised me when I saw that. I would have thought these teams, as close as they are in proximity, geographic-wise, that they probably would have played each other a few more times. Yeah, but they haven't. So
well, you get it. It's an interesting matchup here, and the Macho Man Randy Savage said it best, man. When it comes, this is the time of year where the cream rises to the top, Matt. And I think that the Calhoun Yellow Jackets, they're the cream of the crop. They may have a couple of losses. One of them, a very close loss to the powerhouse Cartersville Hurricanes. This is a really good football team. So yeah, the Bruins are 6-1, and the Jackets are 4-2. But you look at who Northwest Whitfield has played here, and I just think Calhoun is more battle tested. They're the better team, and I think they not only win, but I think they go to Tunnel Hill and flex because the cream rises to the top, man.
I'm with you on that too, man. I think that the Calhoun Yellow Jackets are going to be multi-score winners in this game, but the Bruins are averaging nearly 43 points a game. They've had their way offensively with every team on their schedule except for North Murray. I think they're a pretty good team. They got confidence. They're playing at home. Maybe they make it interesting for a quarter or two, but at the end of the day, I'm with you, man. I just think that Calhoun's a different level. They beat Ridgeland last week 49-0, and you wouldn't have thought much about that last year or the year before, but this Ridgeland team's better. I mean, we've seen them in person, and they're a much better team, so I think that does mean something, and I just think this Calhoun team's just built different. So I'm going to take Calhoun to win it. We've got one more, and we're running out of time. So let's talk about 5A. And the Rome Wolves are on fire right now, 4-2 in region play, or 4-2 overall, 3-0 in region play. They're playing Lithia Springs, the Lions, and they are 1-6 and 0-4 in region play. This one looks pretty clear.
Yeah. I'm glad this is the game we've got with very little time. They're going to be 1-7. Rome wins.
I'm with you on that one. I'm going to go with Rome in this game. Rome leads the series 3-0. They won it last season 70-12. I kind of expect that it's probably going to be something like similar this year because that offense that Rome has just has too many playmakers. They're so explosive. They got so many different things they can do. Got a good quarterback in Aiden McPherson. He's got plenty of guys to get the ball to. I think they should have a lot of fun.
Name your score, Rome Wolves. Have fun. It's going to be get the backups in there. Let them have some experience.
I'm kind of surprised we made it through those 7 games and didn't have
Me too.
I thought
that doesn't help me.
Team. No, it doesn't help you. No. So I can enjoy the weekend knowing that when we come back and we're sitting at this table next week, I have a 4-game lead.
You will.
All right. Well, that's going to put a wrap on our show. Coach Grove Show coming up at 7 o'clock if you're watching this on a Wednesday. So looking forward to chatting with Coach Wayne Groves from Darlington. And then, of course, we got our whole slate of high school football coverage coming up on Friday. This show at 6:15, 6:45, Coach Grove Show, 7:15, the Tiger Kickoff Show. as the Tigers get ready to take on Heard County in Franklin, Georgia. 7:30 Toe Meets Leather, whether you're going to watch on the live stream or listen on the radio. Got you covered.
We're here for you.
Multitude of ways. All right. Well, hope you enjoyed the show today. Hope you have a great weekend. We appreciate you, and we'll talk to you next time.
This has been another edition of This Week in Northwest Georgia Football, brought to you by Riverside Auto Group and produced by WLAQ Sports. We appreciate you tuning in and invite you to tune in again next week. Please like, share, and subscribe.